Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today it's another ArtsyTrio collaboration over on the ArtsyTrio Facebook group. This month for Moodboard number 23, it's Bea's turn. So don't forget, I'm working in collaboration with Bea Grob and Gina Ahrens. So there'll also be a link in the description area below to Gina's and Bea's videos for their projects for this month's mood board too. So let me turn you over to my overhead camera. I'll show you the mood board and I'll show you what inspired me in this month's. So this is Bea's mood board number 23 for July stroke going into August, hence why it's called Hello August. And I looked at this for quite some time and I really I really struggled with this one. The only thing that really jumped out at me were these Mediterranean windows. I thought, well, maybe I could do a scene where there's a wall and windows and maybe a planter with some plants growing up underneath it. But nothing else really jumped out at me. And then I looked at this image here. Although it looks as though the image has actually been twisted round, it's actually, I think, a bowl with some fruit. I think it's got an orange, a lime and a lemon in it. And I thought, well, that's just kind of just like a still life, really. And that's something which I don't do very often. It's a couple of years now since I've done or even attempted a still life. And I've said many times before, I'm not a watercolourist. I'm not really even a painter where, you know, I will do an oil or an acrylic painting, which is figurative. So I thought, well, I did do a kind of abstracty flower a couple of months ago. So how about if I try and do a watercolour-y, abstracty fruit life study? So that kind of got me going. But, you know, you jump from one idea to the other. So I went onto the internet to find a photograph of a fruit still life. And there's thousands. Literally hundreds and thousands, but one jumped out at me, which was this one. So this is by a Dutch artist called Jos van Rijswijk, and it's just a plain simple painting of an apple and a pear on a shelf. And I'll show you the reason in a second why this kind of jumped out at me, because it's very familiar to me, is this painting. In fact, I'll show you now, just hang on a sec while I reach down onto the floor. Okay, so if you look at this painting and you see that there's a blue band across the bottom here, there's a shelf and a little blue band across the bottom there. Well, I've got this, which is an original painting. This is by an artist called John Garbett. But you can see what made me kind of look twice at this one when I saw this. Now this is a bit more abstracted, obviously it's more figurative, it's more painterly because you can see the brush strokes in there. In fact, you can actually see the brush strokes and the texture in this. So, and this is an original piece of artwork that I own. But I don't want to replicate that, but I thought I'd have a go at doing something very, very similar in watercolour. So what I've already done is I've already taken my pencil and I've kind of already done a preparatory sketch, because these things take a while because you've got to be careful, you know, trying to get things in the right position, and I've done a couple of these already. I could have just put graphite on the back of the picture, turned it over and then drawn it, but you know, where's the fun in that? So I've spent a few minutes just kind of outlining all the pencil marks where the colours I think are going to go. So I think I'm ready to start doing some painting. So we'll start off just by laying some basic water and some basic colour down. And I've just got a really, really cheap palette of watercolours here, which I've had for ages. I think they cost me something ridiculous like £2 in one of our local cheap kind of like discounted bookstores here in the UK, a place called The Works, and I think it was just like £2 or something like that, and it was just ridiculous. So all I'm going to do is use a paint mat. Let me just take the lid off actually. There we go. I've got a paint mat, and I'm going to mix up some of the colour just onto the paint mat, just so I can get a feel for how those reds are going to work. So I'm just going to activate a little bit of the red. See, that's already more of a vermilion. So if I want to make that a little bit more warm, I need to add a little yellow to it to make it a little bit more orangey, just to kind of get it to that's kind of getting there, I think. That's fine. So I think we're okay for that. Now I can just reactivate that later. If it dries, I can reactivate it, because this is one of those paint mats where I can do that. So what I want to do is just, first of all, is just come in and try and get a lightish kind of blue background. So I'm just going to mix up some of the blue, put that down here. And you can tell I'm only using a very small brush. Now, can you see how that paint has reacted differently onto the mat than this one has? Which is rather weird. That could have something to do with either the composition of the paint or the composition of the mat. Okay, so I've got some down there, that's fine. Watercolours, by very definition, are watery, so you need a bit of water to get them to go properly, but also there's always the issue, because you're using water, that they're going to fade. So what I'm doing first of all is I'm just adding some water to the canvas, or water to the page, just to kind of precondition it a little bit, just to get the water to be able to flow, or the paint to flow, when I actually start to add the colour. And this is the kind of trick with watercolour, is making sure that if you want to get that kind of flow effect, is to pick your paint up and then deposit it into wet, because that way it won't flow into any dry areas, but you do get that kind of really nice flow effect in the background. And like I said, it will be light and it will fade. Let's bring some more of that water down here. And then grab the paint, and then we can just drop it in and let it do its own thing. So add water to the top, grab the colour. Now this is going to be very basic, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some darker, a little bit of black, and I'm just going to add some darker colour down there, a little bit just in there, just for a bit of variety, just for a bit of darkness. And like I said, this is pretty light at the moment. It's, whoops, pretty darn light. Grab some more blue. Okay. Some more water, and then I'm going to have a go at this side. Add the water to the page. Just soak it a little. And then grab the blue, and then we can come back in and just start adding it. Dropping it in into the background. And letting it do its thing. And again, just bring it down the side. Okay. Let me just move that out of the way. Just bring that bit more into the centre. So you can see it is quite subtle. So what I can do is just grab some more bluish colour, and you see I can still see it's wet. It's still very much wet. And just add a little bit more. And of course, as the water starts to soak into the paper, it does kind of buckle a little. But that's okay. It just encourages the water to move a bit then. So I'm going to take a little bit more of that dark, bit of the blue, bit of the dark down here, and then just start adding in some shadow. Like I said, it's very subtle. And then just bringing in a little bit of that blue, just to kind of tie it all together. All right. Let's just give that a helping hand to dry. Okay, so I'm not going all the way to dry. I'm just going to go partial the way to dry. Right, what I want to start doing now is I want to start just adding in some of that, give me another brush, a wet brush, a clean brush. I'm going to start adding in some colour now into the pear. So I'll grab some of the red. And that's really kind of wishy-washy, isn't it? Let's just bring water. See, that brush wasn't supposed to be used for that, was it? A bit more of that crimson in. So while it's still wet, I'm just going to grab some kind of orange, or even that tomato-y kind of colour down here. Let's just see if I can get some paint. There we go. I'm going to use the same colours on the apple. So let's just wet that out where I want it to go. So grab some of the vermilion. And then I'm going to grab some of that red. Just let that sit for a minute. I appreciate the water's making it a bit more difficult to see how it's actually working. But now this is where we kind of like start getting a bit silly with the colours, because we can now start mixing. And I appreciate I've just zoomed out, haven't I? Hang on there. Sorry, zoomed in. Get some real zingy colour kind of mixing up. So I want a real kind of yellowy green, which, to be honest, instead of going green to yellow, I probably should have gone yellow to green. But you know, who said anything about doing it the easy way? There we go. That's more of a zingy greeny yellow. So now I'm going to come in with that. We'll add a little bit of that kind of in the pear there as well. And then grab that red again, and then we'll just start to diffuse some of that in to each other. Grab some of that yellow. We can go a little bit kind of ruddy browny now on that pear. Definitely more greeny. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry with a little help. That'll do. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some dark colour, mix it with the red, and then I'm going to start, in fact, to tell you what, rather than, let's just go straight in, actually. Let's not mess about. Come straight in with that dark colour. And then we'll do the same thing and because it's watercolour, we can pretty much I'm just putting in the shadow of the stalk. We can add a little colour and then diffuse it out again later. So it's coming down here at the bottom. We've got all our shadow. Excuse the squeakiness of the chair. It is the chair, I promise. Right, so a little bit of red back in. That dark grey, and then a little bit more red back in with the apple. Pick up the red. We'll just start to kind of blend it. More of the green. And it's just a question, because apples are never just orange, or never just orange, never just red, and never just green. You know, you can afford to kind of diffuse the colour and add maybe just another bit. So grab that red. I want to give the impression that that's round at the top as well as round at the bottom, so to get a little bit of dark shadow in. A bit too wet, I think. And it's just going to be a question now of to-ing and fro-ing, going backwards and forwards, just trying to pick up, blend a bit, and then maybe not blend as much. Let the water do the work, I think. So a lot of the times you'll get, when you're using red and green, is you'll get mud. You'll get browny colours, but that's okay. That's okay. Right, so talking of brown, so let's grab some brown here. In fact, let's start lighter. Let's start really light. So let's go down here to what looks like a more of an ochre colour. Don't need a lot. I'll just start painting in the stalk. I've started off light, and then I'm coming with a darker colour some more dark. So the temptation is to kind of flood the area. Because watercolours can be reactivated, even if you think you've got a harsh line, you can always just blend it out. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for a second or two just to kind of dry, let it soak a bit. Okay, so next, let's just grab a little bit of orange, just a tad. I don't want a huge amount. And then just diffuse that. Let's give it a dark colour. Just down there now. Because that's where the shadow is. In fact, most of the shadow under there. Okay, what I want to do now is just create some kind of diffusion. So let's create a kind of line. Kind of gives us that edge of the painting, and then we can bring another one and I'm just going to use the straight edge just to kind of create kind of faux edge. It doesn't even have to be strong. That'll do. Just gives you an impression that there's something there. And then that shadow bit inside there, we can just diffuse that a little bit. And if you wanted to, just to give that impression that there's something of the wall behind, and then we can bring a darker colour in. underneath. I suppose it's just a bit like colouring. It's colouring with paint, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to leave that. Right, so it's had time to kind of dry a bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in and add some doodles into the actual drawing itself. Let's see if my pen's going to work. Ah, I picked up the wrong one. Where's my other one? I had it the other day. Do you know what? I'll use that Japanese one. That's if that's working as well. Yeah, that's fine. So let's start adding in. No, it's not working. Right, back to the drawing board. Back in a second. Let's go find a pen that works. Okay, so I've finally gone through and found one of my Pigma Micron pens, which is working. So I've just kind of gone in already and just added in a little bit of doodly detail. On the stem. This is the fun thing about doing kind of like watercolours, because you can go back in and add in your own kind of doodly detail later on. I'm not trying to earn any prizes for realism at all. And this is going to stay in my art journal, so it doesn't make any difference whether it's abstracted, a hybrid of doodle and painting. What does it matter really? And that's the fun bit, isn't it? Okay, so I've got one last couple of things that I want to do. Be right back. Okay, so just to kind of finish off, what I want to do is I just want to add a couple of kind of blobby white highlights. Just to kind of give you that impression. And then again, just, I'm not painting, I'm actually dabbing. And maybe just a little there. And that's it. I'm not going to do it anymore. So that's it for my ArtsyTrio painting. Let me just get that white paint dried, and then I can flip it over and glue my inspiration onto the back. Right, I've turned the page over. That's previous months, so I'll just grab the glue, flip it over, just so it reminds me of the date of when this is going live. Okay, put that glue away. And then I'll just stick that down on the back of the page. There we go. So if I flip the page back over again. Okay, so what I thought for this was, because there's a lot of white space here at the bottom, I mean, I could just quickly kind of add a little bit more colour down there, but I don't think I'm going to. What I want to do is I want to grab a square of something. Let me just see if I've got a cover. No, I haven't got anything which is just square. Let me try and cut some card. Hang on a sec. Okay, so I've cut a piece of cardstock. This is 210 by 210, or about 8 and a quarter inches. And I'm just going to use that. Actually, I don't think that pen's going to work. The thing with these micron pens is after a while, there we go. And I'm just going to use it as a kind of guide. As it take it past. There we go. Now we've got that. That creates a kind of frame around the picture, and then we can go in. Now it doesn't matter about that bit at the bottom because you've brought it all together. There we go, and then I can just sign it and put today's date. So this is going live on Wednesday, but it's actually Sunday the 23rd for me, so I'm doing this a few days ahead. But there you go. So that is my offering for the ArtsyTrio mood board for Hello August. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this sort of mixed media-y, kind of watercolour-y, doodly journal page. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. And don't forget, I'll put a link to the ArtsyTrio collaboration Facebook group in the description area below so that you can have a go yourself if you want to go and join that group. There'll be monthly mood boards not from me. I won't be doing it anymore now. This one's Bea's, the next one will be Gina's, and then there's a new person starting. I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry, but it has been announced on the group anyway. So yeah, so pop across there, and if you want to have a go at those mood boards, then you can do so. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.